Hello guys and welcome back. It's getting to the end of the year and we should be seeing the new release of the Patrol very shortly, the Y63. A bit weird to think about, but the Patrol, the Y62 has been around for quite some time now, so we are certainly due for a new variant of it, a new model, so it'll be quite interesting to see when it does come out. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the captured footage of it in its camouflage over in the UAE and wherever else it's been, and I'm sure you've seen a couple of photos of it and what it is supposedly going to look like. Now it is quite interesting to see it, and if that's how it's going to look, I won't be rushing out to buy one, let's just put it that way. Before we kick off, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has supported the channel. We have finally made it to 1,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. I'm really stoked that we've been able to get there. It's just awesome. I always wanted to get to 1,000 and beyond, obviously, but to see it finally happen, it's awesome. So thank you very much all for your support and watching along. It does really mean a lot, and I do mean that, and I really hope that you will continue to support the channel as we continue to grow, because from here it's only up. So yeah, very excited. Got a few more things planned, hopefully before the end of the year, so that'll be really good. Now, I do have to apologise. I know that I have been a little bit absent recently. Just moved into a new place last couple months, then we had a new baby, and I've been just flat out with that. I started a business, and I've just been absolutely flat out doing stuff, but I have been wanting to do a video for quite some time, so here we are. So like I was saying, I'm sure everyone has seen the photos of them all, and obviously it'll sort of change as it does from sort of region to region. Obviously we've got sort of, I don't know, what I would call a more full drive style version of the Y62, whilst the UAE has more luxury versions of it. They obviously have this sort of a shape, however they have a lot more options and trim levels and different body types and body kits and stuff that can go onto the Patrol. Now you've got the Nismo editions and heaps of different stuff, so it'll be different to what you are seeing overseas. However, like I said, I'm probably not going to rush out to get one. So today I thought we would go over some of the things that we do know about it, and we have a bit of a chat about what it could eventuate into. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, the new Y63 is supposed to have a twin turbo V6. Now for a lot of people that's going to be quite disappointing, because we're used to the VK56 and the awesome V8 power that it has, the sound of it, and obviously the torque is quite good too. Great for towing, but obviously fuel economy is a big point in these cars. Once you start getting over 3 ton, fuel economy sort of just is really inexistent, and those two just don't go together. So with the new V6, it'll obviously be a bit more fuel efficient, especially adding the turbos as well. Now, I don't think there's too much info on how the setup's going to be, but from experience from other twin turbo vehicles, but typically there'll be a smaller turbo and then a bigger turbo. It's called a compound turbocharger setup. Now the point of doing that is the smaller turbo is really responsive and really good for down low speeds, and your first couple of gears where you might be taking off from the traffic lights, or you need that low down instant sort of power to take off when towing, or you're on the beach or forward driving or something like that. So running 2 turbos is a really good idea. There's obviously a lot more sort of complexity that comes to it when you are running 2 turbos. 2 coolant lines, 2 oil lines, 2 return lines, 2 sets of intercooler piping coming off it, and you've got to have an intercooler that's big enough to service both of them. Then you've got to obviously change the throttle body to accept however it's going to work. So there's quite a lot that goes into it, but when it's done right, it does work really well. Obviously the longevity of it is a bit of an issue, because You know, typically you don't have a lot of space, a lot of heat, a lot of complexity, like I said. Turbos failing does happen. Don't stress too much about it though, because Nissan is obviously quite good at doing this stuff. So I dare say this has been in the works for quite some time, and they have a lot of history and knowledge when it comes to doing turbo cars. They are very good at it. So there is a little bit to be careful of. However, I think Nissan will do it well. Now obviously the bigger turbo is a bit more lazy, takes a bit longer to spool up, and is more designed for when you're in the higher gears and you're cruising along and you might need to overtake, and you drop back a couple of gears and bang, you're away again. So they go hand in hand and work really well with each other in that aspect. Now supposedly it's meant to make 316 kilowatts, which is obviously more than what the VK56 comes from the factory. Now obviously that's naturally aspirated, so you know, from a 5.6 litre V8 you would expect it to be at least 300 kilowatts plus. Nissan's obviously really detuned the VK56, and that's quite evident by waking up with a tune or a supercharger or something like that, and you do get some decent power gains from it. A lot of, well, the main supercharger manufacturers are claiming anywhere from sort of 80 to 100 kilowatt increase and sort of 60 odd plus Newton meter increase, which is quite good, which will bump you up to around the 600 Newton meter mark, which is more than what the poor little transmission can handle, and same with power. I think the transmission's only good to 400 kilowatts, and I think it's like 500 and something Newton meters of torque, 600 maybe, but you will start to have issues. And a lot of dudes that have done supercharger or turbo upgrades on their Y62s are eventually having issues with the transmission. Now a lot of it can come down to tuning as well, but I digress, that's another episode. The new Y63 will make more power, it has to, basically. If they made something that was less power, people just wouldn't buy it. So they need to make it have more power, which is what they're doing. I'm not too sure on what the Newton meter specs are going to be, however I would expect them to be more than what the VK is at 560 or whatever it is. So if we can bump it up to, you know, the 600, that'd be pretty good, because a lot of the new sort of dual cab utes these days are, you know, around the 600 Newton meter mark, which is a lot of torque, but it's really great for towing. So obviously the styling of it is going to come into play too. My thoughts of it is it's going to be very more luxury based, and I think the four-wheel drive aspect of it is going to be quite lost in the new version of the Patrol. So if you do or are thinking about getting a Y62, get one now before it is too late, because, you know, we're not sure when Nissan's going to say we're not taking any more orders for the Y62. That's it. You're going to have to buy a Y63 now, and we don't know how it's going to be set up. Obviously the Y62 is quite good at four-wheel driving. It does that well. It's quite a good all-rounder really. Does everything good, but obviously there is better out there, you know, but it all comes down to what you want to do. If you're doing just some light four-wheel driving to medium four-wheel driving, Y62 is fine, it'll do it. If you're towing, it'll also do that quite well. Obviously there's upgrades and things that you need to do to make it work at its best. However, it will definitely do it. Now the bloke that has been, I don't know, designing or helping to produce or whatever, whoever the Japanese fella is that does all that sort of business, he is quite confident that Australian Y62 owners will really enjoy the Y63 and will forget about the emotional side of losing the V8. I mean, we've been quite fortunate since 2010 when the Y62 was introduced to have a V8, because obviously the predecessors of the Y62 didn't have V8s. They were obviously petrol or diesel 6 cylinders. There's obviously some exceptions to that, being 4-cylinder, but there was no V8 option. So we're quite lucky that this is all we have, and to be honest, I don't think really anything else would have really done well. I mean, you can't put a TD42 in a Patrol, a Y62, and, you know, be happy with that. I'm sure you could do it, but you wouldn't be happy, that's for sure. Very underpowered, very sort of old, and just, yeah, wouldn't be good. So we are quite lucky to have that, but I think this fella's right in saying that once we see and drive these new Y63s, I think we will be quite happy with them. Now, I don't know how much you know about Nissan's development through its years of 6-cylinder engines. However, they have quite a cult following in the fact of Skylines, Silvias, them sort of cars, and also, you know, through the GQ and GU with their, you know, 4.2, 4.5 and 4.8 litre 6-cylinders. All quite good engines, all quite thirsty. Nissan does know what it's doing when it comes to 6-cylinders. Who knows what the displacement's going to be. Mr. Espenziosa, or something like that, is apparently the bloke's name, who's providing, you know, little tidbits of information here and there, and is like the developer of the new Y63 or whatever. But he is very adamant that we'll be very happy with the new technology pack, and they're really focused on that in the new Y63. Now, they're very aware that the Australian market has been crying out for a better infotainment system since the Patrol launched. He knows that it is lacking, and he said that we're going to really enjoy it. And of course we will, coming from, you know, the 90s and then finally getting into, you know, the 21st century. It'll be great to have some really good infotainment, and they're really focused on that and giving us a really good experience with the infotainment system. So I do look forward to that. I don't know, Nissan isn't really renowned for doing amazing stuff with the infotainment. Yeah, it works, and, you know, obviously the higher tier models, and also things that aren't sort of four-wheel drive focused, I suppose, the more family orientated cars are quite, you know, ahead of where we are. So I mean, I'm sure it'll be good. However, there is a lot of other brands out there that are doing really great things with their infotainment, you know, like whole you know, clusters and infotainment systems linked into one, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I'm not holding my breath for anything spectacular. However, it will be, you know, modern era stuff, where you won't have to go and spend thousands of dollars to replace the infotainment system in a $90,000 or $100,000 plus car. So that'll be quite good and something to look forward to. And obviously it'll be a lot more comfortable. Interior will be quite nice, I would assume. Like, the interior in the Y62 is nothing bad, but it's also nothing to write home about. It's you know, it is adequate, it's good. However, I hope they also pay some attention to the seats. For me, they're not quite where they should be. They're just like big recliners, really, and for a car that does wallow around through corners, especially if, you know, you want to have a little bit of a play, can be a little bit sort of uncomfortable, especially on long drives. I've found, for me, I mean, I've got back issues, so that also plays into it as well. However, on long drives I can be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's nothing terrible. Like, I've sat in worse cars for longer drives, and I've been a lot worse. However, the room inside certainly does play a big factor, and I'm hoping that they will carry that on for the Y63. It does look like a big car from, you know, what we have been able to see so far. So I dare say it'll be nice and spacey, just like the Y62 is. So old matey's saying that the dynamics of the car have been improved massively as well. So the chassis, suspension, the driving feel, all that is apparently supposed to change. And that's sort of where I get a little bit concerned. Because like I said before, I don't think it's going to be as four-wheel drive focused as what the 62 is. Now, he's saying that it will still have its off-road capabilities and be able to do it. And I suppose it is a lot like the 300 series. It can go off-road and do all that sort of stuff, and people, you know, do all the modifications for it to do it, but it just looks out of place being off-road, doesn't it? Like, and I mean, the same can be said about the 62 as well. You don't expect to see them out on the track. You expect to see them towing a caravan, and I think that is what a lot of people sort of see them as. So I think that's certainly what we're going to see, and I think it's going to be like that as well. A bit of an all-rounder, and I hope it is. I hope it really is good off-road, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with the suspension as well. They did a massive leap in development coming from like the Series 1 62 with a conventional suspension setup. So it'll be quite interesting to see what they're going to do, if they're going to revamp the HBMC to make it, you know, completely different and be a lot more user-friendly perhaps. Or yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see. However, he says it's going to be a really great driving experience and people are going to love it. Now, obviously he's going to say that because he's the one who is preaching this from Nissan. So the proof will be in the pudding. Now he also goes on to say that the Y63 will be miles ahead of the 300 series. And it had better be, because Nissan has always been the underdog to Toyota. Toyota's always been known for its reliability and bush-proof and ability to just go everywhere and do everything. Nissan's always been the underdog of, oh, you know, this and that, and oh, you know, they're not that reliable and the rest of it. However, I think they're starting to really claw that back with the affordability of the Y62 and how that's all sort of progressing, and you know, the reliability of them. You know, sure, there's been a few dramas here and there with bits and pieces going wrong, but that's to be expected. No car's perfect. The new Rangers, for example, they've had a lot of engine failures and little bits and pieces that have gone wrong. So it's all teething stuff, but after 10 years, they've, you know, ironed out most of the kinks, and I think they are quite good cars, especially with that motor, very reliable and obviously very popular. Found a few more tidbits of information. Now, obviously, take it with a grain of salt, and everything is subject to change, and it's all just speculation at the moment because, of course, we don't know the actual final specs of what the car is going to be. However, these are some things that are rumoured to be included in the new Y63, so we'll obviously see when the time comes. However, all the interior sounds, little bells and whistles and bongs and chimes and that sort of thing, have apparently been handed over to a game company to redesign the sounds to be more intuitive and easier to understand when it comes to, you know, little warnings and you know, when you're doing a lane change, or, you know, there's somebody in that lane, or you know, faults or warnings that may come up. So a game company's taking that on. I can't remember which one it is, and they have redesigned all the sounds in the cabin to make it easier to understand. So that'll be quite interesting, and it does make sense for, you know, a company to reach out to somebody who, you know, does that sort of stuff. And I mean, if there's any sort of gamers out there, you'll know that all them sort of different sounds and stuff that you hear are obviously designed to make it easy for you to understand if something's happening in the game. So that'll be quite interesting, and like I said, it does make sense, and it's probably quite a good idea. So like I've talked a lot about the engine in the new Patrol, because I suppose it is quite a big talking point, and it's something that, well, it's sort of the main component of the car, so it is quite important that, you know, that is going to be a good thing. So apparently it's going to be a 3.5 litre twin turbo, like we know, V6 petrol. There may be a possibility for some hybrid action, which, I don't know, everyone's saying is going to be a really good thing. And in theory, yeah, it is, you know, a good idea where you're using the engine to charge batteries or whatever, and it's got, you know, a smaller engine, and then it's got electric motors that drive a majority of the time with a small petrol engine to help charge batteries and do the rest of the stuff. So yeah, cool, it's a good idea. However, I don't think it's a good idea in a Patrol. I just don't think that's going to work well. However, you know, it's a possibility that might be an engine option in the future. Obviously, we've had the Patrol for 13 years now, so they can certainly develop something in that 13 years to offer on the newer updates and models that they will, undoubtedly bring out as the Y63 goes through its life cycle. So that'll be quite interesting. Now, there's a caveat to that. Us Australian people will not have to worry about a hybrid thing. That's more so for the European market as they move into the Euro 7 emission standards. Whether that's already in place, I don't know, but if not, that's what they're moving into. I think it's Euro 6 at the moment. I don't know. I don't really keep up with that sort of thing because emissions I could care less about. However, they're either in Euro 7 standards at the moment or they're moving into that. So that is why that hybrid option may be available in the future, just so the European market can have that. Obviously, it won't be branded as Patrol. It'll be whatever it is, Armada or whatever. It may be Patrol, who knows. However, that's a European thing, and that'll be something that will be in the European market, who knows, sometime in the future. So basically, they won't get a full petrol option. It will be that. So who knows what the story with that is? Who knows? Obviously, in the Y62, we have a 7-speed auto, which, if you don't know, is the same or very similar to the one that's in the 370Z or 370 model of sports car. Obviously, Nissan is, very renowned for doing sports cars with Silvia's Skylines, and obviously their 3 whatever series cars as well, like 350, 360, 370, I think 360s, I can't remember. Them sort of cars I'm not so familiar with. Skyline, Silvia's, that sort of thing, yes, my bread and butter. However, their 3 whatever cars aren't really my jam. So they're currently using that, which, like I've already talked about, is only rated for, not massive power, because they weren't, I suppose Nissan weren't really planning on people to add bigger fuel pumps and superchargers and turbos and stuff and really push the power limits of that transmission. In the Y63, they're moving to a 9-speed automatic, which will be quite interesting. Obviously, that'll have great effects on the economy of the vehicle and also the towing, of course. More gears, more ratios, and it should be a lot easier for towing and doing that sort of thing. So that'll be quite interesting to see. Now, it's a Mercedes 9-speed, so that's quite exciting. Germany is renowned for making good things, of course, like we should all know. Like in the V8 and Turbo Falcons, they use the ZF 6-speed, and the German ones, there's also a Chinese version of it as well, which isn't as good. Shocker. But the German ones are the well sought after ones, and they're very strong and reliable gearboxes that can handle good power, and they have plenty of aftermarket support. So to know that it may have a Mercedes gearbox will be very exciting, and it'll be a very good thing. It'll be a strong gearbox, which I dare say will be able to handle more power. That has been tickled by Nissan as well, apparently, with a little bit of Nissan finessing and whatever, and who knows what they'll do. They'll probably, they might strengthen it, and they might change the valve body and stuff to affect how it shifts and all that sort of thing to accompany being in a bigger vehicle, because I'm not sure what this 9-speed's coming out of. It'll probably be out of, one of their Mercedes SUVs or one of their sort of a sporty version of some sort of vehicle. So that's quite good and something to look forward to. Mercedes are quite renowned for being quite good cars, so I'm sure that transmission will be quite good as well. I did mention suspension before, and I was, sort of thinking about how it was all going to work. Now, apparently it is quite similar to the HBMC. It will be hydraulic, apparently. However, it'll be hydraulically adjustable, which will mean you'll be able to adjust the suspension and the ride height on the go. So, Range Rover and them sort of vehicles have adjustable suspension where you can change the ride height. So it'll be quite similar to that, I dare say. And you'll be able to change the suspension and how it sort of is all set up. So that'll be quite interesting, and I think it'll be quite good too. So like I did sort of mention, it will be that sort of forward, well, not so much forward drive, but towing sort of focusing for, you know, doing comfortable driving and that sort of thing. However, it can certainly help off-road. You know, you obviously leave it at stock settings when you're on the road, and all of a sudden, I want a 2-inch lift, and we'll bump the suspension up 2 inches. You know, that sort of a premise, which will be quite interesting. Apparently the whole car has had a rework in terms of its chassis, and they're doing a lot of weight saving as well. So apparently the chassis is meant to be lightened but stronger. Now there's a lot of great material out there at the moment where you can make really strong chassis, and they can also be really light as well. So that's a really good thing, because obviously the weight is a big concern with the Y63, and GVM upgrades are a massive sort of talking point at the minute. So that's quite a good idea, and it'll obviously allow them to have a bit more flexibility with the interior and stuff, because if you've ever taken the rear seats out of a Patrol, they're actually quite heavy. So I think you gain about 60 odd kilos of weight back when you take the rear seats out. So, you know, for three small seats, is obviously a single and a double, but, you know, 3-row seat, it's, yeah, quite a lot of weight there. So that's a good thing, and should certainly help with caravanners and that sort of thing. So Nissan have also made, obviously technology is a big thing for them, and wanting to improve the Patrol is high on their list. So they're adding a lot of new sort of features and stuff that are quite will be quite foreign to us, because, you know, we've basically got the basics, the very bare bones in the Patrol, which is what a lot of people do like, because it's simple, and if you're using it as a 4-wheel drive, there's not a heap to go wrong. Yes, there's a lot of wiring and that sort of thing, but a lot of sensors and whatnot, but apart from that, it's quite basic in terms of its technology. Now, apparently they're adding a feature that allows you to have auto start of the engine, and also auto door open, which will be handy, I suppose. Auto boot open, I can certainly understand, and a lot of manufacturers are doing that these days, so it'd be nice to have that. But yeah, apparently, you know, driver's door auto open. I don't know if that'll be some sort of a gesture that you'll have to do, or something you can do off the key fob, but that's something that'll be, I don't know, maybe a bit gimmicky, maybe handy. Maybe you've got your hands full, you want to open the door to put stuff in. I mean, I can certainly understand it, but is it really necessary? Who knows? And something else that I've also mentioned is the interior is going to be completely different, obviously to keep up with times, and obviously the 300 series as well. So that'll be a really good thing, and something to definitely look forward to. And I think it'll be a massive selling point of the car is the updated interior. But they do have a lot of work to do to make it something that is affordable, but also really something that'll catch buyers' attention and make people want to actually, you know, invest in the car. Because coming from what it has been now with very bare bones sort of interior, whilst it is decently nice, you know, there's a lot of other styling that they can do, like the pleated leather through the door cards. I mean, geez, that's a really old thing to do. The wood grain, again, a really old thing to do. Who knows why they chose that design styling? Beyond me. But the new Y63 is, yeah, rumoured to be completely overhauled and redesigned to be in the modern era, so that'll be quite good to see as well. I hope it will be a really great all-rounder. I hope it'll be able to do everything like the 62 can. I hope it'll be able to, you know, tow as much. I mean, they're saying it will be able to do all that sort of stuff, and, you know, it sort of has to do all that sort of stuff, otherwise people just aren't going to buy it. But like I keep saying, it'll be really interesting to see it and see what it's like. When it does release, I'll be taking one for a test drive and doing a bit of a review on it and seeing how it sort of compares to the 62. So yeah, it'll be quite interesting to compare them both, and hopefully we'll see a really good leap forward in their development of the car. So yeah, it'll be good. Now, if you do have any more sort of information that I might have missed, please do put it down below. Also, if you do have an opinion on it, put it down below as well. I'd really like to know what you guys think of it as well. It's going to be a big change, going to be a bit of a shake-up, because I think people have really gotten on board with the 62. Pricing again is going to be a big one as well. It sort of has to be around the same price as what a 62 is. If it's much more than that, I don't think it'll be as competitive as what the 300 series is. And obviously, as we know, Nissan's really been having some great sales. The last few years have really bumped up their sales numbers. I think it has to stay within the same sort of realm to be quite competitive in that sort of sense as well. So yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see how it all sort of pans out and what it eventuates into. But look, here's hoping to it being a great car. I mean, when the 62 first launched, it was very unpopular, and they weren't selling many of them at all, and they were quite cheap. So it'll be interesting to see if that following from the 62 and knowing what it's all about will then, filter into the 63. Again, thank you so much for the support, guys. Thank you for the 1,000 subscribers. It's great to finally get there. Yeah, cheers to the future of the channel and what we have in store for the future. Thank you very much for watching. Please make sure you like, comment and subscribe if you haven't, or if you are new, please subscribe. There's a lot more of this sort of stuff to come. I need to do the brakes on the 62, so that will be coming up in a future video in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to have a bit more of a busy time the next couple of weeks, so there won't be anything too much from me during that period of time, but once I'm back on deck, we'll be right to go again. Again, thank you so much, guys. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.